And we are live now as well.
For the broadcast, the only microphones that we have are the ones on the camera. So also we need to just speak up a little bit. Should be fine, just not. Those amplifiers in the room, but they're not going to be, they're not going to.
The mountain starts actually towards the desert. Forest and a lot of that. But it was coming, a lot of it. So when they were talking about. Worried about that.
The first exhibit up is going to be the red line. Yeah.
It is 7 o'clock.
It is, okay. I'm gonna call meeting to order. Okay. This is a special meeting of the planning commission. I know just to consider the York Point development project. Here in person is Daniel Left, McIntyre, Junior Wheeler, Nicole Fescue, and Thomas, and myself. Christiana Davis is participating on Zoom, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a little quorum. Steve?
Okay, just to give you a little bit of background before we start, if you remember when we did the site plans and everything for building one, it was a real soup of various approvals that needed to happen due to the unique circumstances of the development. So we had to take some things in a certain order. And again, you need to do that again today. In this case, we've got revisiting building one for some red line revisions, and their design does coincide with the design of the attached property to the east building two, which is going to be the primary thrust of our meeting tonight. But we need to do the red lines first because they tie into how the access to building two is coordinated. So with that, we get started. This is red line revision, the site plan, North Point Building 1, south side of Basin Boulevard, CS 2019-09. This proposed red line revision will be considered first. I mentioned that earlier. The purpose of this red line revision is to reflect proposed changes to the parking area on the east side of the building to accommodate truck stacking and circulation, addition of a guard shack, addition of perimeter fences, changes to the entrance room, and other minor improvements. The original site plan called for 807 parking spaces. This number has been revised to a total of 681 spaces, 126 fewer. This is being adjusted for two reasons. First, the building was approved in 2019 as a spec building for 4 tenants, one in each quadrant of the building with no identified end users at that time. Since then, a tenant has been identified that plans to use the entire building and fit out is proceeding based on the tenant's needs. They need much less office space than is shown on the plan approved in 2019. Office space is revised from 48,564 square feet to about 3,500 square feet. Second, the parking requirement on the original site plan was miscalculated with an overage. The 48,564 square feet of office space was calculated as required, but was not backed out of the total footprint of the building when the warehouse area was calculated. Parking for the warehouse part of the use was based on the total footprint of the building without deductions for offices. The overcalculation of 48,564 square feet of warehousing coupled with the reduced amount of office space being designed into this building now results in an adjusted parking requirement of 677 parking spaces. 4 spaces are being provided above and beyond the ordinance requirements for a total of 681. The following additional changes are proposed. Adding a 240,000 gallon water tank and pump house on the west edge of the west parking area. 2, a guard shack at the truck entrance on the east side of the building with reconfiguration of part of the entrance road shared with building 2. 3, adjustment of the parking area on the east side to address the tenant's needs to include a truck drive aisle, a yard shack in this area, significantly reducing the number of spaces in this area as well as the impervious surface in this area. Addition of some additional parking spaces to the western parking area in order to compensate for the parking being removed from the east side of the building. Addition of perimeter fencing around the truck loading areas, and addition of 2 hydrogen tanks. And I believe this is an either or. They're not doing both tanks, they're just doing one. Is that correct? We'll decide later which of the 2 locations you're going to put there. So actually, it's going to, if you're approving the potential location of 2 tanks, then only one is going to be installed.
What is the hydrogen tank for?
I'll let them explain. This request for redlining revisions was received recently. Agency comments are still pending. Will be forwarded to you between now and Tuesday evening. Basically, we didn't route it to everybody because everybody wasn't interested or affected. It was the agencies that reviewed it, our planning, city engineer, and the fire marshal. Fire marshal's generally okay with it. They have a few details they need to work out, and we'll be redoing the latest round of red lines this weekend. Everything should pretty much be settled at that point. Planning, I'm okay with it. I would just recommend that a couple of trees be added in front of the water tank if possible. If it doesn't interfere with any utility lines, just to screen it a little bit. And city engineer recommends approval. Maybe if you could make the plan larger so I could show a few things.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Everybody received.
Okay, I got it.
You got it?
Sorry, it's very slow, I'm sure it's going
It's a
on.
it's a fairly large file.
Yeah, it's taking a long time to respond.
That's not good.
All right, I thought you got it.
Something like that.
Fear not.
Red line, the second one down. Okay. You can scroll down a little bit for me, please. Okay. This is where we'll start. There's go up to this is the overall size of the site. There's a large amount of parking that goes on the north side of the building. Two that are, I think, the here. There's a change here to the car shack located here. There is construction within 10 feet of the property line here. There's a car shack that will allow the traffic, the trucks to queue in here and then go back this way to access the front of the building. As a result, significant reduction in the amount of parking spaces located along here. As a result, some of the parking spaces that are lost over here, that reduction because of calculation. But the difference in that is being picked up over the southeast corner and it's starting over here. The hydrogen tanks are located, one is here, and one is here. And then the 240,000 gallon water tank proposed is located right here.
Steve, what is the office space?
The office space, I believe, is right here, isn't it? Northwest corner, so that would be now, down here. Yeah, that is northwest. So the office space will be located here. And also they're installing fencing around the truck loading areas as well. Building and the area is significantly far back from property property lines, you know, street trees, landscaping in the smaller management area. So distance and topography and landscaping, mitigating the appearance of the fences. We have Jeremy Michael from the applicant and his engineer, Tony Taylor, if you have any questions.
I'm curious as to what line.
Yeah, so the tenant has a lot of what they call pit equipment, but basically they're fork trucks, the material handling equipment. Traditionally, it's all been electric, like battery powered, but they're moving towards more energy efficient equipment, or kind of away from the fossil fuels to go for like a net zero carbon. And what the hydrogen tank is actually, it's like a hydrogen fuel cell for their fork trucks. And so the hydrogen gas, or it's kind of up in the air in terms of gas or liquid, but the hydrogen will come in and be stored on a tank, pumped into the building, and then that's how they would charge the forklift.
Good news is your own byproduct is water.
About the volatility of the hydrogen tank.
Something in our ordinance that prohibits it.
I know.
It's really not. Two types of natural gas also.
I don't know. So propane, so everything else.
And to that point, the tenant actually has engaged with the consultant that does this for them, across their platform. And between the two locations, we've kind of since then moved in on the northwest option. Partly because of that, there are some setback requirements in terms of like proximity to the property line, due to the size of the tank. The southeastern corner of the site would restrict the height of hydrogen as well as the size of the tank that they're able to place there because of that requirement.
How big is this tank going to be?
It's to scale on the drawings. I don't know if we can zoom in there. I think the tank itself is like 12 feet by 40 feet.
I believe they were talking about 15,000. I believe they were talking about a 10 to 15,000 gallon above ground.
And can you scroll down to the word Zoom pages? There you go.
So where we are with this is that it's, to be subject to fire marshal comments and planning request that there be a few trees put in front of the tank.
Yeah, it doesn't interfere with any planned utility lines. The tank is located right here. You have a driveway that's going in, which is right where the well is, where the construction entrance is. Tank's going to go right here, so you on the left-hand side of the driveway, go in between that first bank parking. We just thought it would be good to have a couple of trees in there. Again, it doesn't interfere with the utility.
Is that an issue for the applicant? Do you have any additional questions or comments?
Stephen, or I went on the very last page here, references lot one and lot one.
Okay. Yeah, the numbers of the building are like a lot. Buildings
I
one
know,
is.
but on lot of that. Last, there's a number of them.
The building 1 is on lot 11, building 2 is on lot 12.
Right. Right. There's one correction on the very last page.
Okay.
Okay, it should be lot, it's called lot 6 on the very last. It
So
should
it
be
needs to
7.
be lot 11.
Correct.
It's got lot 1.
It needs to be lot.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
On the approval of the red line revision to the site plan, subject to fire marshal permits. Oh, and the condition of adding to the rest of the letter.
Okay. Any further discussion?
And I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Judy, motion, Owens, and.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the request for a variance for the forest conservation ordinance. We're building 2. This is going to be our first action associated with building 2. That's the site plan, that's irrelevant, but the drawing that is up on the screen shows the locations of the trees, and I will. You should have a long photo. Yeah, you have a drawing. Gotta have those little hexagons and numbers. It's a single page that has the entire site with, what you're looking for is this.
Go ahead, I mean,
Okay.
I can't find it.
Oh, you saw. Yeah, okay, I was going to go big. It's in the memo. It's in the memo. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is Forest Conservation Ordinance variance request for removal of specimen trees, Forest Conservation Plan FC 2020-3. As applied to site plan ZS 2020-08 with North Point Development LLC, Building 2, located on the south side of the Boulevard. This is a request for a variance. You have approved the sketch plan for the construction of this 4-building warehouse and office development to be located on both sides of the Boulevard. The applicant seeks a variance as part of the conservation ordinance with the plan development of building 2 as follows. Article 7, section F3C1, for removal of 6 specimen trees due to the mass grading of the center part of the site to create a building pad and logical location for stormwater management facilities for the project. Note that in December of last year, the commission approved a similar variance to remove 7 specimen trees on the adjacent site of building 1 and across the Boulevard of building 3 for this justification. The ordinance states that there are certain priorities for retention that includes trees that are over ordinance strongly leans toward preserving such trees when it's at all possible. This property is or has been heavily wooded. However, in their forest remediation agreement, several, only a few trees that meet that requirement, therefore, it will be done approved with variance. There's a variance procedure, there are certain requirements that need to be met, and staff has provided an analysis record by reference of the various requirements. That analysis is found on page 3 and page 4 of the staff report. It's up to the applicant to make their presentation when justification for variances and doing that fairly. But none of this is new. It's all part of the sketch plan. The staff recommends approval. I had provided you with draft decision order to review for approval if you'd like. But you have your site, this is building 2. Over here, this is Brandon Boulevard. This is a location specific electric substation. This is building 1 over here. Building 3 is over here.
Shut the door.
The dark shaded area, this is going to be part of the forest. There's an area that previously remediated, previously out there years ago that wasn't included in the forest area. The 6 trees that are involved are sometimes back and forth part of their size. There's 4 of them, all of the trees here. Backside of the park here, just off the building. There's also 1 up here at the entrance, 2 actually. There's actually 1 more specimen tree that's located on the property. Here's a part of that area, part of the site plan. This area will not be disturbed if there's 1 more specimen tree. That I'll turn it over to Mr. Taylor.
What's your facing here today? The same thing we went through on building 1 3, where, this property is always set aside to be commercial industrial, right? And it only makes sense to go ahead and finish the development along Bay Boulevard. That way you're not opening up other areas of the city and the ground. You just go set aside. What we've done is we went through and looked at the building, what our needs are to put the building on there. And we're only disturbing enough forest to be able to construct a proposed improvement. And along with that is we have to meet the forest conservation or the stormwater management board. We are providing water quality. That's one of the points that we have to make as far as we're going to focus on although most of the properties along the are been improved, they've been built and constructed, much in the same manner that what we're doing here is, there are large box warehouses, commercial areas, shopping centers, and we are following the character of the rest of those properties. And we feel if we're not creating experience, it's not the same some of the same rights that the other previous developments were granted. As Steve had mentioned, this area in here was the old copper site. Those sections were located inside that copper site area. If you look back at some historical photos. So with that in mind, that's why we're here today is
in building 3.
Yes.
So everything is in building 2. I mean, I'm okay with this. And so we talked about first about discussing.
Investment trees, and also there are specific criteria in the ordinance to check the value of the assets. We're providing you with a draft for you to look over to see if you want to adopt that as your findings of this. And if that's the case, if you vote on that, then what I will do is tomorrow morning, I will make any tweaks that are necessary. For example, I had it written here for right during the hearing. So there's a few tweaks I want to make sure that once that's done, I'll hand it over to Mr. Spencer.
These trees, included in the original site, forestation.
Yes. They're really identified as parts.
But they were not designated to be removed, is that the case?
So delineation, all that does is identify the resources. It doesn't tell you what's going to happen. Forest conservation plan, which is trying to be light as well.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to distinguish. Whether we did something then and then these were missed, or we just had that, this was just indicating that now we're going to do.
If I remember correctly, when we did the site plan review, for building 1 last fall, this was discussed in passing as well, saying that building 2 comes in, there's going to be additional requests as well. But the delineation itself is just that it identifies what's happening. And they were identified.
Okay.
Okay, so again, it sounds like first you agree with okay. Either,
You can come later with the site plan, or we're dealing with this motion variance. Removing trees, yes or no? They had a decision.
so,
Part of that is you're asking us to essentially prove this rule that on that,
We got out of make a motion.
Would you like a recommendation on how to frame? the
that
motion?
would be fantastic.
Okay. Staff would recommend that someone float a motion recommending approval of the variance, adopting the draft findings in the draft decision order as you can approve the variance.
any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we move to second.
I did.
Hold for, put your name in the chair.
Lot 2.
Site plan and forest conservation.
Oh, understood the bounds.
Yes, that's got 4 pages to it. You need, one with the. Okay, this is a review of site plan CS 2020-08, including requests for waivers, forest conservation plan SC 2020-03, and also for the final plat of forest conservation easements on S 2020-11. Actually, I'm going to back out of that. So this is for North Point Building 2 on the south side of Hazel Boulevard. The site plan is for the construction of a 798,309 square foot warehouse office building. The site plan also includes stormwater management, 2 driveway entrances, one to be shared with the previously approved building 1, 671 parking spaces, semi-trailer parking areas along the front and rear, and required landscaping. Part of this area has already been cleared as part of the mass grading plan that was necessary to begin construction of building 1 to the west. There will be 2 forest retention areas in the eastern portion of the property adjacent to Hazel Boulevard, City Electric Division substation. The approach to forest conservation will be described later in greater detail in this report. The reconstruction of Hazel Boulevard is underway at this time. For arrangements made following the approval of site plans for buildings 1 and 3, actually not buildings 1 and 2, but both buildings 1 and 3. Negotiation of roadway improvements, a walkway/trail will be located on the north side of Hazel Boulevard, providing pedestrian access from Ridge Avenue community to the commercial areas on the western portion of Hazel Boulevard. There will be no public sidewalk access across the front of this property. Article 5 waivers. The applicant requests the following waivers for the requirements of Article 5. 1, eliminate requirements for shrubs between the parking lot on the west side of the building and the shared driveway with Building 1. Distance, topography, and the fact that the adjacent property is another similar use of the property's rental common ownership render little to no need for it at this location. If it's not close to any street, there will be landscape. If it's not close to any street, there will be landscaping in the adjacent stormwater management facility. Staff recommends approval. 2, the first page of the plat shows a scale, lot scale of 1 inch equals 200 feet. We'll handle the waivers together. Because of the size, the ordinance requires scales of no greater than 1 to 100. Given the size of the property, the use of the scale is limited to 1 page of the plat. Staff recommends approval. And just so what we're talking about here, the waivers are 1 waiver for the site plan of the shrubs. The plat that you'll be seeing in the next phase, the cover page is scale of 1 to 200. That's actually outside of what the ordinance requires, but this property is so huge, there's no really any alternative. They're asking for a waiver to have a scale of 1 to 200, and it's just for this 1 cover page. The rest of the plan is at scales set forth in the ordinance. Moving on to the forest conservation plan. This proposal requires the applicant to obtain a variance from the commission to remove specimen trees. We approved that in the previous motion. Forest conservation for the project will be addressed as follows. 4 forest retention areas. 2 would be on the south side of Hazel Boulevard in the eastern reaches of this site. One is 6.64 acres in area and the other 9.5 acres. 2 would be across Hazel Boulevard on the Building 4 site. One would be 4.59 acres located between Hazel Boulevard and Human Development Council. And the other, which is 2.63 acres, would be located between Human Development Council and the railroad tracks. These 4 easements total 17.36 acres of forest that will be preserved. Street tree credit of 2.63 acres. The potential to claim street tree credit for all of the frontage of Hazel Boulevard for all building sites were claimed in the forest conservation plan for buildings 1 and 3. I'm going to stop here for a minute and drip here a little bit. When we received site plans for buildings 1 and 3, they came in under a single forest conservation plan for both sites, not that uncommon. Part of their approved forest conservation plan is that site plan got credit for all of the street trees that will be installed all along both sides of Hazel Boulevard for this project. So this project cannot claim the first tier of street trees. However, there is additional space in front of this building between the stormwater management area and the street in order to put a second row of trees, which given the mass of the building is a prudent way to go about doing it. And I had asked the developer if they would be willing to put in a second row of street trees staggered, so offset from one another to create additional buffer, so be widening out the street tree buffer They agreed to do so, but they did ask that they be allowed street tree credit for it, or forest conservation credit, which we think is a very reasonable compromise in this situation. They're gonna have an extra wide forest conservation street tree easement across, Basil Boulevard between stormwater management and the street. And instead of having one row of trees all on the frontage, the first row was just credited the forest conservation plan for the last project. The second row behind that will be credited to this project. And then the third part is fee in lieu or off-site mitigation. There is a remaining 5.14 acre commitment after the two above elements are considered. The applicant requests flexibility to apply one of the following two approaches. First is fee in lieu contribution. This would amount to a contribution of $74,110.37 if paid at the current rate of 33.1 cents per square foot by December 31st. The rate would be adjusted for inflation effective January 1, 2021. We have not yet calculated what that would be. We typically do that in November of each year, so we don't have, it's usually fractions of a cent per square foot. The second approach is to record a forest conservation easement on existing forest off-site and likely outside of city limits. The applicant is exploring this option, but no arrangements have been made yet. Off-site mitigation is required to be met at a 2-to-1 ratio, so the applicant would need to record easements on at least 10.28 acres of land. Staff have no objection to a motion building in this flexibility. However, the applicant should be required to return to the commission for formal approval of the final disposition of the off-site mitigation, showing where and how the targeted forest will be protected. Staff recommends the forest conservation plan be approved, provided that the variance to remove the specimen trees is approved first. You've already done that. Staff recommends the motion to be worded to permit the applicant to use either fee in lieu or off-site mitigation at their discretion, and addresses fee in lieu in acreage only and not in monetary amount. If you remember, because the fee slides and it's adjusted annually for inflation, rather than making a motion approving fee in lieu of a certain amount, do it in acres, and then we charge based on when in the year it's actually remitted. So, and then I'm going to pass on the plat for the moment. Plan Review Committee is currently suspended due to the public health emergency. Staff recommendation is approval of forest conservation variance, which has already been done. Forest Conservation Plan recommends approval subject to the 2 points of direction that I just mentioned. Staff recommends approval of the waivers. Site plan, the following agencies have provided approvals: Planning, Police, Public Works. Following agencies have provided conditional approvals: wastewater and water, subject to minor drawing comments; Parks and Engineering, again, they had minor comments; and Fire Marshal. Staff recommends approval subject to the conditional approvals. And I'm going to hold off on the plat conversation, and we're going to handle that separately.
The 2 waivers being items 2 and 3.
The waivers being the shrubs along the parking lot area and the scale on the plat.
Okay.
I guess we can take this bigger, please. Scroll down. Just real quick, this is part of it. Okay, this is the overall site plan.
I'm sorry, it's so slow. Can we pause here?
Yeah. Okay, this is part of the as graded plan. This is brick building, parking in the driveway. This is all the bars. Next. Overall site plan, again, here's your shared driveway entrance to building one. This is the fire checker through the red lines. The previous building one, vision we had a meeting over here. Stormwater management is here. Stormwater management is also located on the front of the property, side. We have a street tree credit, which we building one, building three received, have a second road tree on that. And then we have forest conservation in this area. Again. Again. Gives you an overall idea of the general layout of everything. This is going to be a driveway entrance that is exclusive to this building. And this state is included because part of the buildings, the property we go under Vision Boulevard and up the Midwood Avenue for everybody in that section. Next. If you go back. These are engineer profiles.
There's no big file.
Here you have second row of trees. You see the first row of trees that's credited to forest conservation and building three. Second offset row is credited to forest conservation. You also have landscaping inside of the stormwater management area. Again. These are the building elevations, showing what the building will look like. This is the front elevation, so this is what's visible along the boulevard. The important one that I want you to pay attention to here is the cross section. We have some provided cross section, which we think is very good. Given the topography of the site. Building one is considered higher than this one, I believe. This one actually sits lower, so when you're running down the board, to it, less of a visual impact. For two reasons. One, we get a couple of rows of street trees here instead of one, but also the topography is such where more elevation is actually below the bedroom that elevation is smaller. So if you try along this boulevard here, you're pretty much a little bit above halfway up the top of the building. So you're actually looking down the side a little bit, not substantially, but you're still going to, if you look straight, you're looking at probably midway up the side of the building. And then you have your trailer court in the back and then trees along the berm to the rear and the railroad back here. And this is the important element to look at here is you have your first row, second row, street trees, landscape. Before you get to the the forest conservation, if you go back to one of the overall pages. there's a 600-acre area here that's the retaining forest. 5 acres over here, retaining forest. There's also this area, that you're creating more, or that's not too small. There's a big rest of First Side Street, growing houses, alley. It's everything past that alley. Moving forest, not speaking at this point. Here, for baseball or so this is your forest conservation. And then there's a couple acres back here between Dalton Council and the railroad that will also be. So we've got two on the other side of the board, two on this one. With that, I'll turn it over to Bill.
Building 1, 2, 3, this one is a large box here, or box building, warehouse building. Ready for approval of the site plan. We have made these conditional approvals in the site plan. We continue to work with those agencies. Basically, as Steve mentioned, we went through the parking lot. For the project. Right now, everything is speculation. As far as we know, we don't have a 10th building yet, so we're going to determine if building 1 that is dividing us up in the quadrants with allocated amount of office space to each quadrant. We're going to be served by public water and sewer. The sewer, as Steve mentioned, we're going to be taking under Basin Boulevard and Center Street. Water, there's existing water main in the shoulder of Basin Boulevard. We made the tap for that, and we'll be installing the water meter. Now, the tap was made as part of Basin Boulevard, so that we don't have to go back and open up the street again after the reconstruction is done. We have various water quality, stormwater features presented around the site. One of the requirements is that we try to treat the impervious areas at the source. So that's why you see all of these scattered around the site. These various corners here. There's a large one here for stormwater quantity management. We have fire retention areas here, sand filter, fire retention, sand filter, and another fire retention here. Now, obviously, due to the topography of the road, we are treating some of the Basin Boulevard improvements. That's a plus. We have a very large watershed that drains down to the Gateway Crossing, down to Lot 13, and that goes through our site. So what we had to do was construct a large quantity pond to be able to bypass that flow around the site through it's roughly about a 6x7 stone box culvert underneath the railroad. And we had to make sure that there was no impacts to that. So that's why you see such a large pond. As for providing landscaping, we're meeting pretty much all everything we need to do, except for, as Steve mentioned, in this area over here, we're for the variance for the landscaping. We do have fire retention area here and here that is going to be planted. So, in a nutshell, we're just asking for approval of the site plan.
And I should elaborate a little bit on the waiver. If you pull into those parking spaces and you're facing building 1, you're looking into the back. You got the stormwater management in front of you, plus it's a bit up to get the driveway. The building 1's a little bit higher. The idea of those shrubs is typically on adjacent property, you keep headlights on adjacent property. It's basically that in this particular case. We're talking about 2 warehouse facilities, that's one other angle. Yeah.
You said you were looking back at something like this.
Yeah, on the bottom, that's a cross section through the building on the back. Basically, that back is building 1. Oh, okay, you turn around and do it.
used, or the person would be the one would be the
Forest conservation plan and such. And I just received the memo from the city engineer saying, just gave additional approval, subject to 4 comments, which I'll read into the record for you. Engineers indicated that the large storm drain structure is downstream end of the 4 existing culverts of the base boulevard will be designed by others. As this is a critical element of the storm drain plan for the site, designed for the structure should be submitted for review as soon as possible. 2, the city engineer is working with the applicant's engineer on minor additions to the design of the Basil Boulevard roadway improvements. These changes will have a minor impact on how the roadway grading ties into the grading for Building 2, but should not affect the overall grading plan at any extent. 3, the engineer has indicated that the applicant intends to add a fence around the main stormwater management facility. Our office has no objection to the fence, provided the means are provided to allow for inspection and maintenance of the facility. This fence, the stormwater management area, the way it's off the roads. As the city has experience with the construction of Building 1, the future tenants of Building 2 may have specific requirements that will force design changes to the site plan. Unfortunately, until those tenant requirements are known, we cannot comment on the nature and impact of those changes to the site design. So it's possible, given how Building 1 has played out, which has generally been great, given how massive the whole thing is. It's very possible we could be back with red lines from Building 2 down the road when the tenants needs are identified.
We'll make a motion to approve the waivers for the Article 5 for site plan CS-2020.
There's the foundation. Is there a second?
Waivers for the site plan.
Yeah, we need to, we need to talk about the fact of including the 33 acres as well as those.
We'll do that as part of the approval plan.
And also, now, let me clear now. What we're doing now is we're approving the site plan.
Okay, we have approved the waivers. The waivers approved, so here's the way to approve the site plan.
Okay, what I'm trying to do is, here, the way it is on the agenda, it says, site plan with design waivers and forest conservation. So
I should have separated out the waivers. I should have listed.
okay, that's what you confused me. It looked like we were gonna be voting on all of it. So what we're doing now is just voting on the waivers.
Right.
Two waivers for the park competition.
Okay,
To the site plan.
okay.
By the way, that's much clearer than the drawings. There's a color rendering of the plan of the overall site.
All right, is there any further discussion or questions? You ready to vote? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That's one.
And you need a motion for the site plan parcel.
And on those indicate that is subject to outstanding engineering comments,
Engineering,
conditional comments, and
water, sewer. Just advisory for possible other things later. So we'll make your motion, you can make sure that you move the parcel street and build in part of the motion that they have the flexibility to either do offsite mitigation or be in lieu for 2.1.
forest conservation.
Easement.
Engineering, water, sewer, and oil.
Okay, that's it.
And discretion of the applicant to use the move. And also,
Make that a multiple motion between Jim and I. And I'll second it. Hey, well, we got everything in there.
I got it.
Okay,
are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
yes.
All praise that.
Aye.
Aye.
Last thing then is the plat. This is going to show you your location of your forest conservation. Okay, this is final plat and forest conservation easement plat for case S 2020-11. The designers, the already that was the scale of the cover sheet. This is a plat recording, re-recording the lot on which this is located, shown on page one of your, one of your screens. Shows the various drainage easements, stormwater management easements, etc. The cover sheet, however, does not show the forest conservation easements. I think we did move. This is showing where the street tree easement is going to be. You can see the trees outlined in the northern part of that dark shaded area. Next page, please. All right, this shows 2 of the 3 forest conservation areas, which was part of the plan that you already approved. It shows better detail. This is 9.5 acres. This is the city's electric substation located here. This is your Avenue development, here. At 9.5 acres here, railroad track. You have a stick fence, 0.64 acre piece here. They're going to use this area, but I asked if they wanted to backfill that with some, so they want to maintain that in order to have access to the storm in that area. Make perfect sense. So, when they told me that, I said, never mind. Then they have 4.59 acre area here. This is, again, on the right hand side, is the mall. This is that alley that's there behind the house. This is that little area. We have that. And Megan, we have the next page. That's this unit here. And then you have 2.63 acres back here. So a lot more property just like this. When they come into the site, they build here. This area is going to be forest conservation, and then 2.63 acres here. You develop house here. And then with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Taylor.
Okay, basically what you have in front of you is the replat of Lot 12. Lot 12 was approved with the site plan for buildings 1 and 3. With the construction of building 2, we had to move the existing drainage easements that were platted on the previous plat to coincide with the infrastructure we're building for Lot 2 and also the stormwater management pond. You'll notice on the subdivision plat itself, there is an easement that runs from Basil Boulevard the whole way down to the railroad tracks to the culvert. With us building the building on top of it and our parking lot, we needed to bypass that around through the stormwater pond. So we got to lock up the stormwater pond and then a stormwater easement for the engineering department anyway. So we just incorporated it all into one easement and got There was another easement that came from a road culvert, on the west entrance. That is being rerouted through a storm drain system that we're building in front of building 2 down to the stormwater pond. So that'll take care of that easement. And then the forestation, we're just meeting the forest conservation ordinance with what we have here. In the end, we're going to end up having to pay into the fund or locking up off-site. As I mentioned, we just want to, discretion to do that ourselves. And then we'll work with Steve and staff to make sure that everything is complied with.
By the way, ultimately, if they do go to the off-site, we will be bringing the actual plat, the easement plat to you, so you'll know where it is and you'll have the opportunity to review it. Following agencies have provided approvals, fire marshal planning, police, public works, wastewater, water, health, Washington County plan, review and permitting. We were waiting on comments from the city engineer. They provided additional approval subject to 2 comments. Change the hatch pattern used for the storm drainage easement. The hatch on the plat is too dark for readability. And 2, add a note stating the city has the right but not the obligation to maintain storm drainage pipes and facilities for the drainage easements. That's the only 2 comments.
That's what.
City engineer.
I'll entertain a motion.
Engineering, engineering.
Final plat.
Right.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the final plat subject to the 2 conditions pending from engineering.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Just one last thing, I should have done it earlier, I apologize. Everybody will hear from the developer about bringing in business to the city of Hagerstown. And the groundbreaking for building 1 is tomorrow.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you guys there hopefully, and I just want to say thanks and appreciate you guys. This is special session, so I appreciate you giving up your evening and helping us get through this.
Steven said we appreciate business coming to town. So.
And I think the whole street, the whole project, not just for tonight, but it has been brought before us in a very well-developed, professional manner. It kind of makes our job
A lot easier.
Yes.
It's in your first rodeo.
And we got this one in and out in under 60 days.
Record time. Lot of effort, collaborative.
This is not a small project. So.
No. We're very good.
Okay, well then, I believe we are adjourned.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So that's addressing. Oh,